Alright, Grixis Dredge. For those newer to Magic or not familiar, the Dredge refers to a mechanic from the original Ravnica set, which is a mechanic that allows you to fill your graveyard up as you go. So Dredge decks in Magic in general tend to be decks that dump a lot of cards into their bin and then play out of their graveyard in some way. So how is this deck playing out of its graveyard? We've got Narcomoeba as well as Creeping Chill here that have triggers when they get dumped into our bin. We've got Kroxa that we can escape from our graveyard. We've got this card that gets bigger as we put some more cards in our graveyard. We've got Triton, Secretkeeper, and Citrus Supplier to dump cards into the bin. And then we've got Cauldron Familiar here and Witch's Oven to allow us to loop things around out of the bin. We've got Lurrus to recast things from there as well. So let's go ahead and pop it into a historic event and see how this one goes, huh? Of course, Ricky. Thanks for the 2 months. Welcome back. This is a comment on one of my recent Twitter posts regarding companions has brought up Moxopal apologists. That's one I haven't heard in a while. Man, do you remember, chat, that there were people that thought Moxopal was a reasonable Magic card? As someone who advocates for unbanning things in Modern probably more than anybody else, Moxopal is not an okay Magic the Gathering card. Having 2 mana on the first turn of the game, hard pass. Please stop. Stop it. Get some help. Perfect. We even get to London mulligan away this Creeping Chill. You see a version of this deck with cheeky maximized velocity to give Fiend Artisan haste. That's funny. Stream Decker's a 12-card sideboard. Thanks. I'll fix it. Moxopal has been at Modern forever, can't be bad. That's basically what it boils down to. People thought Moxopal was a sacred cow, and thankfully they were wrong. Thankfully they were wrong. I was super glad when that one finally got banned. Here's a fun thought. With Moxopal banned, should we unban Kroxa Ironworks in Modern? Why is that card still banned? Wow, people in chat really hate KCI, huh? There's no positive reasons to unban it. I hate that argument. I think that's like a garbage tier argument. I think the reason to unban Kroxa Ironworks is the same reason to unban Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod. You should let people play with cards that they like. Anybody that wants to make, anybody who wants to make quality of gameplay discussions about the format where Primeval Titan and Tron lands are legal, stop it. Get some help. Aldoite, thanks for the brand new Prime support. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me around. Like, Modern is the format of garbage gameplay. Like, whatever you want to make an argument about, this deck has garbage gameplay, so don't unban it. Like, everything in that format has garbage gameplay almost. In fact, the decks that don't have garbage gameplay in Modern currently are largely the Lurrus decks, because Lurrus has made Modern a lot more fair. Yeah, but that's never going to happen, Hammy. I agree that if they wanted to manage Modern and, like, make it more fair, I'd be all for that. But I also understand that this is, like, never going to happen. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I guess I could have thought about Reckless Rage and maybe played around that. As long as you get Bridge from below back. Yes, people are allowed to like things. People are allowed to like casting Teferi. I would never envision suggesting Teferi be banned in a format like Modern. Because again, Modern is a format for people who want to just play with whatever obnoxious thing they want to play with. Did you play when Mono Green was the only deck? Alright, I'm going to time you out. Because at no point in Pioneer was Mono Green the only deck. At no point was that the case. I agree, Supli. I really hope they consider printing more companions. Wow! Should have played around the double spell pierce, obviously. Big mistakes, big mistakes. Hey, an unborn clown. Thanks for clowning around here for an entire year. Let's get you started to go with that shield. The old double spell pierce you're built for. Yikes. You can't play the land the shape. I mean, I put it into play tapped. Come on now. I'm not going to shock myself to play around double spell pierce, chat. Did your alert pop up, Y-Sticks? I don't have an alert from you. Oh, weird. Resubbing to show my support for your aggressively well-reasoned Twitter tags. I don't know what it is about my stupid Streamlabs dashboard, just like randomly doesn't work half the time. Yeah, Mono Green was super playable. I was okay with the Mono Green ban in Pioneer when it happened, but Leyline of Abundance being banned in Pioneer in a post Theros world is so incredibly stupid. Yeah, they're dead, right? You just, like, bring the cat back and attack for 3. Get creeped on. Jeepers creepers. Jeepers creepers. We are currently live and in Technicolor. Unless you're watching this on YouTube in the future, in which case then I'm not live, and that's probably confusing to hear. Necrotic Wound. Is this a Necrotic Wound matchup? I almost feel like with their protection spells, I kind of just don't want my removal. Because boarding in a small amount of removal against their small amount of protection probably means I get blown out most of the time, and I'd rather just have my tools to race them. So I think I'm just going to click submit here. Do you think that the sideboard plan is almost always true against Jeskai Lurrus? It depends on your deck, and it depends on your volume of removal. So, like, for example, in Yarok Field, where you're boarding into, like, double-digit removal spells, I think that's fine to board in removal against. It depends on both the volume of removal that you have, as well as how proactive your deck is capable of being. So, like, in this deck that I'm playing, where my volume of removal I could bring in is low, and I'm fairly proactive, I think the upside to bringing in removal is minimal. Gosh, they're going to spell Pierce my Witch's Oven, chat. I'm going to be so sad. I'm going to be less sad. Maybe they didn't leave in Spell Pierce against me. Sick. They like this weird feather deck? Jeepers creepers. I think I just Kroxa here. I've heard a lot of good things about people that are playing Pioneer with companions. I've heard companions largely had a similar impact to Pioneer as they did on Modern. I've not really played much Pioneer, though. The Pioneer interest on this channel has been basically an all-time low since the printing of Theros. Confirmed Feather. Pioneer's kind of like Modern, but with bad mana since the bannings. He's such a... Speaking of Jeepers Creepers, he's such a creepy dude. But a mistake to sack Kroxa of the Oven to make 2 food. Yeah, I think so. I don't think I really need the extra food, and I think they're low enough that I'd like to just drain them out. Modern's more popular on Discord. Yeah, I'd believe that. I think a lot of people, like myself, had hopes that Pioneer would be this more fair, non-rotating format. And then when that turned out to not be the case, it's like, alright, I'll just play Modern instead. Since I increased the price of Moto decks to $50, Since I increased the price of Moto decks to $50, I I can count on one hand the number of Pioneer submissions I've had, and we've had like double-digit Modern submissions in that time. Is there anything you think you should stay banned in Pioneer besides the fetches? Yeah, Once Upon a Time should stay banned. Once Upon a Time should stay banned, and Veil of Summer should stay banned. I would give Oko a chance. The next open is unfortunately full at the moment. What if I Lurrus and replay Supplier? Or Lurrus play Oven here? I actually think unbanning Oko while Lurrus is legal presents fair decks with a really interesting choice. In my opinion. I think if you're worried that the best fair thing to be doing is Lurrus, you should give the fair decks this other good fair tool you printed. I agree. In my opinion, Wizards of the Coast is too conservative with how they utilize their ban list. Yeah, Smuggler's Copter is still banned in Pioneer for some god-awful reason. Is Lurrus really competitive against Oko? I have no idea. Let's find out though, huh? Is Oko banned in Legacy? Oko and Lurrus are both legal in Legacy right now, right? And Lurrus is still dominant. Did Oko get banned in Legacy? Really? Is it really not legal? I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely don't know if it's legal or not. Cameron, thanks for the Prime support. It's legal. It is legal. Okay, yeah. So with Oko legal, Lurrus is still seeing more play there. I especially hope I would be really surprised if they unban things in Pioneer or Modern. But I hope I live to see Oko unbanned in Historic. I really hope they take a chance on him here. I feel like Oko is probably an appropriate power level for this format without Once Upon a Time and Veil of Summer propping him up. Yeah, Delta, I always give the swords back. You're good. Sure, it is a different pool. And that's why as is often the case on this stream, I didn't speak with certainty. I didn't act like Oko would definitely be fine in the formats I'm suggesting they try to unban him in. I'm just saying, unlike most incredibly arrogant Magic players, I'm not assuming I know what the result is of unbanning Oko in these formats. I'm saying there is a chance that if you unban Oko, it creates an interesting deck building tension for fair decks as to whether or not they want Lurrus's card advantage or Oko's power. That's what I am saying. I think I'm actually going to Stitcher Supply here rather than Devourer, because I would like to play this next turn and escape it. Yeah, I agree. Oko without Opal is also a little bit of a different story as well. Big agree. So, here's the thing about Oko versus aggro, Bedell. Oko is good against aggro that can't go wide, but, like, Oko isn't actually that good against one-drop aggro, right? Especially with, like, Burning Tree Emissary and stuff. Something that just happened. I don't actually have a way to get Lurrus back, right? So it doesn't really matter what I exile here. This build's not playing anyways to return him to play. Mostly just need to leave the cat there. Oh, you know what? I should prioritize leaving creatures in here, which I did. Look at that for the Fiend Artisan. That's the key. You want to leave as many creatures as possible for Fiend Artisan. What on God's green earth does this attack mean? Did we get Lava Coiled this game? We did. I'm not going to block because it's Lava Coil. What does being a sub get you? It gets you the ability to participate in the chat here. It gets you access to the subscriber Discord server. Lets you submit decks to be played in the queue for a little bit less dollars. Gives you the ability to play in the Hoaglandia Opens when we have slots available, although the next one coming up next weekend is currently filled. Okay. Okay, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off for him here, huh? I'm bringing some Necrotic Wounds. Kill my opponent's stuff. Hagak and Looting. Hagak and Looting are interesting. I think Faithless Looting's I think when Faithless Looting was legal, it was pretty close to being like the brainstorm of modern, so I think I'd prefer no Faithless Looting. I think Hagak could probably be fine. I think without looting, Hagak is probably fine. Was Hagak legal post looting? Does anybody remember? I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the timelines. Was Hagak ever legal without looting? It wasn't, right? Okay. What's the upside of Hogok? People get to play with sweet cards. That's always the upside, chat. Magic's fun, and I like playing with sweet Magic cards. Let me like things, chat. Let me like things. Professor White, thank you for the 3/4 of a year. Welcome back. I appreciate it. First off, how dare you? Let you like Mox Opal then. Mox Opal is like Faithless Looting. It's a card that does too much for too little. Here's another, actually, you want some consistency, here's the consistency. Ban stupid, powerful enablers like Mox Opal and Faithless Looting. Leave stupid, powerful, sweet payoffs. That's the fundamentals of what I would like to see happen in formats like Modern. Enablers like Mox Opal and Faithless Looting are the things you should get rid of. Sweet payoffs like Splinter Twin, Birthing Pod, Hogok, those types of things I think should be given a chance whenever possible. I think players tend to identify with and want to play sweet payoffs, and we should give them as many sweet payoffs as possible to play around with. Is Lurrus a payoff or an enabler? I think it's a payoff. I think it's a card that does a thing. It doesn't enable you to do more other things. Gosh, is it both? It might be both. The line might be blurred there. I think both is fair in the case of Lurrus, which in that case, it's still a payoff and worth keeping around. Birthing Pod seems more like an enabler than a payoff. But Birthing Pod's so sweet. Birthing Pod's not just like a lame make a mana or like loot like Birthing Pod's a sweet card, chat. Birthing Pod's a sweet card. I never registered Birthing Pod for a Sanctioned Magic tournament. When Birthing Pod was legal in Modern, I was registering Delver of Secrets and Spellstutter Sprite. In fact, my one and only GP top 16 came with Delvers and Spellstutter Sprites, chat. Then I wisened up and stopped playing in Grand Prix. Jeepers creepers. That deck is why I watch you, God bless. Really need another red source here so we can escape Kroxa. Oh, multiple basic islands in my Kroxa deck. Yes, I also agree that Birthing Pod's power level is ultimately kind of low. I agree with that assessment. Do I have a deck of the day? Probably the Jeskai Tempo deck. Probably Jeskai Tempo. Grixis Control. Nah, I gotta pick Grixis Control, right? Like, Grixis Control was... I feel like if Grixis Control is playable, I'm obligated to make it deck of the day. What do we think? Grixis Control felt... Or should I take mercy on people's wild cards? It's... How mean do I want to be to the community's wildcards, chat? I feel like wildcards everywhere scream out in terror when I contemplate tagging Grixis' deck of the day. It's like they're ready to be nuked from orbit. Artifact lands, Pod, Green Sun, Oko, Twin. I think I might actually keep Green Sun banned at this point. I'm not sure I want to play against the Primeval Titan decks with Green Sun legal. I feel like Green Sun might slot into faithless looting territory with the power level of Primeval Titan decks. Neo Brand is good for Modern Send tweet. As someone who loves playing Neo Brand, I'm going to give you a 10-minute timeout because that's an awful take. Think about what you did. Yeah, I think the payoff of Titan is better to have around than the payoff of, or than the enabler of Green Sun. As someone who loves the idea of Green Sun being logically consistent, I think leaving Green Sun banned is reasonable. Nah, I don't know about that. I don't think Birthing Pod enables anything that's already busted. I think Birthing Pod adds variety to the format. Green Sun naturally slots into decks that are already really good in Modern, right? And I think that's an important differential. It's important to differentiate between a tool like Green Sun that easily goes into a lot of different decks that already exist, and Birthing Pod, which would prop up archetypes that currently aren't competitive. Yeah, the pod restricts design space argument, I think, is real bad. I don't think that's really based in reality. I'm gonna sack my Kroxa here, because it's gonna die anyway, so might as well deny them the card. What is Neo Brand? Neo Brand is a combo deck that literally can kill people on the first turn in a game of Modern. Look up Neo Shoal Brand. It utilizes Neo Form and a lot of other nonsense to kill people on turn 1. I don't think there's a single card you could put from Magic's history into Standard to make me like the current Standard format. I don't think the current Standard format is fixable with card additions. No, I don't think Field of the Dead or Veil of Summer fix the decks right now. I don't think they would improve my enjoyments of the format. I would ban Simian Spirit Guide. I think Simian Spirit Guide is a nonsense BS Magic card that shouldn't exist. If you wanted to get rid of Neo Shoal Brand, you ban Simian Spirit Guide. Card is absolute nonsense. Yeah, Metamorphose is up there with it. Or what are we getting with Fae of Wishes? Planar Cleansing. Ashiok. Ashiok not too big of a deal here, because I can put my cats in play when it triggers on the stack. I don't think Burning Tree does it, Percy. I'm actually kind of surprised they printed Astrolab. I feel like Astrolab is obnoxious for a lot of the same reasons that Cataxian Probe is obnoxious.
Here goes nothing.
You just can't consistently turn one Chalice. Wait, is the issue. And, like, if you're a Chalice deck, you can't play good 1-mana cards yourself is a problem. Wasn't Astrolab largely printed for Pauper? It's banned in Pauper, right?
I have a plan.
Astrolab's banned in Pauper? It is? Okay, sure. My cats meow and kill them next turn. Alright, what are we doing? So, like... Speaking of standard, I want Disdainful Stroke here, but Teferi makes it kind of medium. I think I just cut the Mire Tritons. See how this goes. Opponent took a lot of game actions. You're not wrong. If you don't follow Trevor Noah from The Daily Show on Twitter, he's a really good follow. He just shared a video that is, they created a video of Trump rambling in response to reporters' questions. Where they play a clip of him talking and then you have to try and guess what question he was asked about. That's gotta be an impossible game. Yeah, I think Manamorphose is a stain. Yeah, I think that's not a single card, but I think if fast lands were legal in standard, the format would be better. I think 2 and 3 color aggro decks having more consistent mana would be a net positive for standard. I didn't really follow politics at all when Barack Obama was president. But I've watched some of his speeches since then and, like, things he's attended and spoken at afterwards. And I'm kind of really sad that I didn't follow politics at all when he was president. That man is so well-spoken, it is absurd. It's just, like, embarrassing going from him to the babbling idiot that is Trump. Honestly, Biden's an embarrassing downgrade too. Like, politics and talking points aside, Joe Biden is not a good public speaker. Is this deck good? I think there's a chance our deck's playable. We've been executing a relatively consistent beatdown plan. So, only 5 cards in our bin, so we're 1 short of being able to escape Kroxa here. Can we just play the Fiend Artisan on a tap land here? Orator. There's a $5 word. He's a great orator. Correct, man. I mean, to be fair, I think you could argue that Trump dodging the draft does give him military experience. it's not like the experience you would want your president to have with the military, but from an objective standpoint, dodging the draft is experience. Trying to be fair and balanced in all things as always. Think WotC will ever reprint cards with the Dredge react? No, probably not. I think if you want to experience actual Dredge, you need to go play Modern or Legacy. Well, we got to draw a card from the Shatter at least. Okay, sweet. We've been to Kroxa and a Narcomoeba. Narcomoeba, you love to see it. Narcomoeba, whatever this, because yeah. Always the next card with Creeping Chill, eh? Okay, so I think I want to just go Lurrus into Fiend Artisan here. They ban fires. I think they should also ban Wilderness Reclamation. I would be very surprised if they banned fires. In my opinion, banning fires would be a mistake. So they'll do it. I'll do it. We'll do it, I swear. We'll get them, Hogland. We'll ban the fires. Don't push me. Uro beats Kroxa, heads up here, right? You have an opinion on what would fix the format? For my personal enjoyment, Standard would be better if Teferi and Agent didn't exist. That being said, I think there is a strong argument to make that the current Standard format is fine. I don't think I personally enjoy it, but I also know that my personal enjoyment of a format doesn't mean the format is going to be objectively bad. I would be incredibly surprised if anything was banned in Standard, and I think if you're only paying attention to Standard with a hope that something gets banned, you're probably going to be disappointed. If you don't like the current Standard format, I would recommend trying Historic or Draft or Pioneer or Modern or some other type of Magic. One of the things that makes Magic the greatest card game to ever exist, in my opinion, is the myriad of game modes that it has. Magic isn't just a single format or a single deck. It's a variety of game modes with a variety of decks. I think there's lots of different ways they could have templated Teferi to make him bearable. I think they didn't pick any of them, and he kind of is what he is at this point. At least we get to London Mulligan away Narcomoebas. At least we get to Mulligan away Narcomoebas. Glass half full. Yeah, normally I'd suggest other hobbies, but you know, other hobbies are in short supply under the current world climate. Other video games can be fun. We're gonna do. I mentioned this earlier in the stream. We're gonna do a sponsored segment with a roguelike called Griftlands this weekend. Saturday, they've commissioned me to do 3 streams. We're gonna play Saturday, Sunday, Monday with it. I'm a fan of the London Mulligan. The London Mulligan, in my opinion, is the best change to happen to Magic the Gathering in the 20 years I've been playing it. I would Punchworthy, but probably not for a couple of weeks. Because with the Griffland segments next week, I'm gonna struggle to get in that plus all my magic stuff, so I'm not gonna take on any other stuff.
Let's slow this down.
They've not anaphylactic. There's just a lot of people who are currently unhappy with standard, so they're speculating, which is why I'm trying to encourage them to, you know, understand that things probably aren't going to change. I'm going to eat this now, because if we hit a Narcomoeba, we can kill Teferi. This is basically my life playing Dredge. Oh, they have a reach creature anyways. Durf. Durf. At some point, I'll remember this thing has reach. This is still annoying, but, you know. You know. It is what it is what it is.
I've done the hero thing before.
I think we're dead at this point. Not catching back up from there. Opponent's got their self well established. And companions are sweet. I think the details on some companions probably aren't ideal, but I think as a whole, the people that want to write off the mechanic in its entirety are being hyperbolic and incredibly biased because they just dislike change in general. You're playing Dredge and think to yourself, I'm going to take a regular card draw to try and hit another land. You will draw Narcomoeba every time. Ain't that the truth? There was a post from Morrow who said that mechanics, companions were Ikoria specific. So I would assume that we are not getting more companions. We lost the last match. If I sack Cauldron Familiar, I can get a 2-drop. What does that do for me? Not a whole lot at the moment. I just like get another Fiend Artisan and make 2 big things. I agree with that. Thanks for the 19 months, Genesis. I was pretty let down to hear that companions were Ikoria specific. I wish that we were going to see more of them and get more diversity and range in them. Hey, Bovine. Thanks for the 12 months. Let's get you a sword to go with that shield. Thanks for keeping me around. My lack of enjoyment of Standard has 0 to do with companions being in the format. Nothing about my amount of enjoyment in Standard has to do with companions being legal. Here's my take on cards like Lurrus, and on cards like Lurrus in non-rotating formats like Modern, like Legacy and Vintage. Not Modern, like Legacy and Vintage. Legacy and Vintage are formats that don't have ban lists that make sense. They're formats where things get passes because of how long they've existed or been printed. If Legacy banned consistently, we'd ban Brainstorm just like we banned Deathrite Shaman. If Vintage restricted consistently, Mishra's Workshop would no longer be legal. No, Ikoria does not have another set coming. I think Companions greatly improved Modern. Can we win? I can just never win, right? Like, our deck's just like this mopey aggro deck that's just like gonna get beat down. I'm surprised we don't see more White Devotion. The archetype's really good. Stay away from my brainstorms. Listen, your brainstorms are safe. Nobody is banning Brainstorm. Brainstorm is a sacred cow that's not going anywhere. He improved Modern enough to be an enjoyable formatting. And yeah, if you're someone that was off my Modern content or Modern content in general, and you haven't watched my last few Modern leagues, I'd encourage you to go back and take a peek at them. I think 2 of the last 3 Modern leagues we played, I ended up tagging as favorites. And the third one that wasn't tagged as a favorite was still, like, pretty reasonable. What's the second Lurrus for? It's to sideboard in when you board in Leyline of the Void. Brainstorms are the Pearls of Legacy. That is exactly accurate. Lurrus in Modern made the types of decks that I think you want to be good in Modern, but just weren't good for a long time, much better. And in fact, I think if Wizards or anybody thinks that Modern needs more diversity in the face of Lurrus, like there's too many Lurrus decks, the solution they should try is not banning Lurrus. They should instead unban powerful cards that can't be played with Lurrus. They should unban Twin and Pod. You basically just gotta dive right in, Crackster. My recommendation for anybody looking to dive into Magic's formats with bigger card pools like Pioneer or Modern or Legacy is watch some content with your web browser open on Scryfall and look up the card text as the person plays. On my Magic Online videos, I actually have a card viewer in the corner that pulls up big versions where it's easier to read the full text in the actual stream, so you can just pause the stream as I mouse over things. I'm not even sure Pod and Twin would be playable. No, it's not. It's got Kroxa. It doesn't even do anything here, right? This matchup seems super impossible. Maybe I'm just supposed to Lurrus, mill. Maybe I'm supposed to Lurrus, play Stitcher Supplier there. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Fill the bin up. Modern submissions are still 50. Even with Modern being better, Modern content is just less popular. And on top of it being less popular, it costs me personally $10 per deck to play. Which is a real cost that adds up. I think we're dead here. Yeah, it also means slogging through Magic Online. I don't know, this deck felt kind of underwhelming. This deck felt like the Grafdigger's, to highlight like the Grafdigger's Cage there in that last game. This deck felt like the payoff that I was getting for abusing my graveyard was not proportional to the amount of hosed I get by hate. And I feel like that's the TLDR I have. Like, Kroxa and Fiend Artisan were kind of okay, but I didn't feel like I was really leveraging either of those cards really powerfully. The bad thing about Companions to me is that, I don't know if, like, so, just to harp on that point home, I really hate that argument. I hate the argument that Companions aren't okay because someone gets an 8th card. That argument works off of the fundamental base assumption that card advantage is paramount in every game of Magic the Gathering, and it's just not. There are so many decks in so many formats that kill the opponent before they can play their 5th card or their 4th card, or heck, sometimes you die before you even play your 2nd card in formats like Modern and Legacy. So, like, it doesn't matter that, like, they had an 8th card, and if you're playing a deck that cares about your opponent having an 8th card, you should then be building that deck with these companions in mind. So you can choose to care about their card advantage and build your deck to keep up with it or attack it, or you could choose to build your deck that kills their opponent before they leverage their card advantage. And again, the companions are just a different sort of card advantage. Look at Uro. Uro's an incredibly powerful card that generates far more card advantage than most companions can dream of, right? Like Lurrus, you kill Lurrus, it drew 1 card most times. You can kill Uro 4 times and it drew 4 flipping cards, sometimes more than that. It's so weird to me that people aren't okay with a card like Lurrus, where if Lurrus sits in play, it draws a card every turn. Whereas, like, you know, Primeval Titan is legal and nobody bats an eye, right? Primeval Titan doesn't just draw a card every turn. There's no more turns because Primeval Titan kills you. It ends the game. So, like, whenever there's, like, this value engine where, like, you kill it and they stop getting value and everything's okay, like, that's not okay. But, like, the Primeval Titan that they play Teleria West and Summoner's Pact to basically always have a copy of is fine. Like, I don't get it. I'd much rather play against Lurrus than Primeval Titan. I mean, if you play Lurrus turn 2, it's not generating card advantage. If you play Lurrus turn 3 or 4, it's often not generating card advantage. Yeah, I also think that, like, even if you want to engage with companions change the game, like, sure, lots of things change the game. What's one of the fundamental rules of Magic? Like, whenever a card and the rules of Magic disagree, the card always wins. Like, that's the core tenet of a lot of Magic cards, right? They change how the game is played and how things work. All right. Any rate, that's the bit for me today, folks. Thanks everybody who hung out through the end here. I will be live again tomorrow. Tomorrow, speaking of Modern, I think we're doing Modern tomorrow morning. Yes, tomorrow morning we're going to be playing Temur Urza in Modern. Then we're going to play 1 standard deck, and then we're going to close up with a few historic decks again, just like we did today. Thanks everybody for watching. Stay safe wherever you're at in this crazy world, and catch you tomorrow, hopefully. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Wednesday wherever you're at.